Egypt is seeking to restore its regional clout by mediating between Israel and Gaza's Hamas rulers to douse the week-long conflict that has cost more than 200 lives. In 2014, Egypt brokered a fragile ceasefire after a devastating weeks-long war between arch-foes Israel and Hamas, the Islamist terror group that rules the densely populated Palestinian enclave and seeks to destroy Israel. In the latest conflict, which began on May 10 with a Hamas rocket barrage at Jerusalem, Israeli airstrikes and rocket fire from Gaza have killed over 200 Palestinians and 10 people in Israel, officials on the two sides say. Hundreds more have been wounded. The escalation has embarrassed Gulf states UAE and Bahrain, which normalized diplomatic ties with Israel last year, putting Cairo in the diplomatic driving seat. In a region where normalizing states are expanding their own relations with Israel, Egypt has a vested interest utilizing its geographic proximity to Gaza to leverage its diplomatic power, said Tarek Bakoni, a senior analyst at the International Crisis Group. An Egyptian intelligence delegation reportedly on the ground in Israel and the Palestinian territories has boosted Cairo's hand as a peace broker. The delegation is comprised of intelligence officials and has been there for several days to negotiate a ceasefire, Khaled Akasha, a member of Egypt's Supreme Council for Counter-Terrorism, told AFP. Akasha, director of the state-affiliated Egyptian Center for Strategic Studies, said he was optimistic about a breakthrough. Egypt has to be involved. There's no way around it, literally and physically, said Michael Hanna, a senior fellow at the New York-based Century Foundation. Israel has enforced a land and sea blockade on Gaza since 2007, when Hamas seized control of the impoverished territory, home to about 2 million Palestinians. Israel says the restrictions are needed to keep Hamas from further building up its military capabilities. The Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt is the enclave's only passage to the outside world not controlled by Israel. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi instructed authorities last week to open the crossing, to allow wounded Gazans to be treated in Egyptian hospitals and to deliver aid. This is an opportunity to say, not just to the US, but to other regional parties, that Egypt remains important, it's a necessary diplomatic player, and that a ceasefire is going to go through Cairo, said Hanna. He said popular support for the Palestinians on the streets of Cairo has emboldened Egypt's leadership to adopt a harsher, more outspoken line against Israel, despite their 1979 peace treaty. Egyptian media had previously regularly branded Gaza a terrorist hotbed.